This show is going to be electric. We've got Tesla, we've got bacteria and viruses that create electricity. We've got my hairdo. Hi, everybody. First off, let's get started with Matthew Inman. Matthew Inman's all over the place these days. You know, he made that Google Plus spoof. Remember that? It was like making fun of Google Plus. Basically, they got a gazillion billion friends, and then there's only a cricket there going chirp, 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 and then there's a URL. You know the story better than I do, Wendell, because you're holding a device looking at it.
Oh yeah, well okay, so you know on the oatmeal.com there's a comic about Google Plus, and it's like Google Plus is reportedly used by 50 quadrillion people, and you know in the comic there's a cricket there that has replied to the comment with chirps, and so in there it's plus.google.com/blurg asdf1234 thimble turd orgasm 99 meat poopy poop vx donkey pie, and Google actually made that URL go to Matthew Inman's profile. That's awesome.
They do crazy stuff like this all the time, and then they don't say anything about it. They just do it. And then someone sat down and typed out that URL, just like, let's see what it does.
From the TechCrunch article, it says, congrats, Matt, you've now got donkey pie at the end of your own special Google Plus vanity URL.
He doesn't care. No one's ever going to see it. Oh.
Oh, snap.
All right, let's move on here, but still talk about Matthew Inman. So he did a really successful campaign on Indiegogo where he was raising money for charity, because charity's good and bear love is bad. You guys remember that whole mess with Funny Junk. We're not going to talk about that right now, but we are going to talk about his new Indiegogo campaign. It's called Let's Build a Goddamn Tesla Museum. He's a huge fan of Nikola Tesla. We're huge fans of Nikola Tesla. If there's something electronic in your house, there's a good chance that Nikola Tesla had something to do with the invention therein. So he doesn't really get as much credit because he wasn't a marketing guy. Tesla was a genius, and he was kind of a weirdo, and he fell in love with a pigeon or whatever. So people didn't know how to take this guy because he wasn't out selling his stuff all over the place, and he wasn't a crooked, businessman. And of course, there's Edison, and we all knew Edison. And a lot of people do think that Edison was the smart one out of the group, and they may be right on one level, but Nikola Tesla invented everything. Yeah. So we need a museum for him.
Tesla's alternating current system is what is used to power the U.S. electric grid. It wasn't anything from Edison, but Edison, in his showmanship, just to show you, because you guys were like, no, Edison's great, blah, blah, blah. And, one of the other videos, no.
Yeah, who said Edison was great? I think that they must have been a troll, because there's no way that somebody could really say that Edison was amazing.
Edison was not above electrocuting an elephant with Tesla's AC system to try to make the public think that it was dangerous and they should never have that in their house. But I want you to look right now at the wall outlets on your house, because guess what? That's AC. That's not Edison's DC system. Now, DC is more appropriate for like chemical storage of energy, like batteries, like car batteries and stuff like
nickel
that.
Metal hydride.
That makes sense. But for long distance transmission of electricity, AC is where it's at. And Tesla knew that. Edison knew that too, but Edison wanted to discredit him.
So anyway, check out the Indiegogo page. There's 44 days left. He's trying to raise $850,000, and in the first couple of days, he is already, there's already $450,000 on it at the current time of now. When you guys watch this tomorrow, there's going to be well over $500,000. I'm going to donate a little bit because I really want to go to the Tesla Museum. And he's not doing this on his own, of course. It's not like Matthew Inman is a webcomic guy. He's not going to go out and build the museum. He's working with a bunch of people on this. So check it out. Highly recommended. And let's move on to Kim.com, shall we? Unless you have anything else to say about Matthew Inman. All
Tesla's awesome.
Tesla is the man. Thank you, Matthew Inman, for being cool enough to build a goddamn Tesla museum. That's marketing genius, by the way.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. I mean, who'd have thought throwing a curse word in there just makes all the difference. So several months ago, in New Zealand, a New Zealand judge by the name of Harvey said he told the U.S. authorities that they had to provide all of the what am I looking for here? Evidence.
Yeah, the evidence.
They had to provide all the evidence in the case against Kim.com.
Boy, that's weird. A trial where you have to have the evidence up front to defend yourself. That seems unusual. Oh wait, no, not having the evidence. That's what's unusual.
Yeah, I mean the U.S. Authorities were like, why should we give him the evidence? No, there's no way in hell we're going to give him the evidence. We want to go to trial right now for extradition, and we don't want him to know anything, so we can throw all these wild cards out there, and he won't be able to defend himself. Well, Judge Harvey said, absolutely not. And the case was over.
Yeah, these are the same people that also said that Kim.com had a doomsday device.
Yes.
Yes, I shit you not. He had a doomsday device that was capable of erasing all evidence of piracy on the internet or something like that was in the
All his
report.
evidence of piracy. All he had to do was press this button, and all the evil that he'd done would vanish magically. So they wanted to stop him before he pressed the button. The history eraser button, you fool! Don't touch it! That's what it was.
Yeah, so if they got the intelligence wrong on that, imagine what the other things that they got the intelligence wrong on. I mean, honestly, a doomsday device? Really? Seriously?
Yeah, they're just like throwing that word intelligence around. The word intelligence is kind of becoming a cheap hussy, and
It's like, well, we had intelligence that he had a doomsday device. Oh, well, did you have intelligence that, you needed to send 2 helicopters and, people with automatic machinery to, or automatic weapons?
automatic machinery. They're showing up with lathes. Get him out of there. We've got a lathe. Hurry. We're gonna
Yeah, that's just
got a
really...
milling machine over here. Hurry.
This thing's a circus. I mean, if there was anything legitimate here, they've already screwed it up.
So anyway, the U.S. authorities, because Judge Harvey posted a tweet in which he inferred that the U.S. was the enemy, and he did that by saying that the enemy is us. U.S. Ooh.
I think the context of that tweet was that he was sort of taken aback by how seriously they were playing this, but
Yeah, the U.S. authorities were absolutely rabid about getting their hands on Kim.com.
It was absolutely a farce from his point of view, at least, based on the things that he said. It's implied that the whole thing was a farce because Kim.com is not a terrorist. Is there the issue of copyright here? Yeah, maybe, but he's not a terrorist. But they're treating him like a terrorist, and they're going, insane for whatever reason.
They're reacting as if he developed his own version of HARP that could control the weather systems and send hurricanes and floods to the USA. That's how they're reacting. They're like, get him before he presses the button and makes the hurricane hit us. That's how they're reacting. Well, anyway, they said that they wanted a judicial review, they being the U.S. authorities. They said, we demand a judicial review because this guy obviously was biased. So another judge, Helene Winkleman, the New Zealand judge, has ruled, or has basically just thrown out the request for a judicial review. And she has stated that it is absolutely absurd to expect Kim.com and his lawyers to go to trial without any preparation, not knowing what the charges were. So Kim.com has to see the evidence. Do you think the U.S. is going to give him the evidence? I don't know.
No, I think they're going to make up some kind of excuse about how they can't do it or it's too much data or something. But they already told the Carpathia to destroy the data, and it's like, what? And it's like, oh yeah, you can format these servers.
Carpathia is the server that he was using, or one of the servers that he was using.
Yeah, it's like, we got all the data off the servers.
Companies.
You just get rid of that now. So it's like, no, that's probably bad.
And in getting rid of that data, Carpathia, they're going to be destroying not only stuff that belongs to Kim.com, they're going to be destroying stuff that belongs to a lot of private individuals, and all their data is caught up in limbo because people use it as an upload service. So it's a freaking circus.
Imagine drug dealers using, lockers at the bus station to distribute product. And then it's like, oh, I'm sorry, everyone who uses the bus in New York no longer has access to their locker. It's like, well, wasn't it the bus station at 53rd and 7th Avenue?
No. We've blown up the lockers. Don't go back there.
Not only
we've melted them down.
We didn't just shut down that bus station. We shut down all bus stations.
And set them on fire. Oh, man. So Julian Assange has been granted Ecuador has been granted asylum at an Ecuadorian embassy in London. Now, this is getting interesting because he was granted asylum, and, he came out and was like, wow, my own country, Australia, didn't say a word. London, of course, didn't come to my aid. They want to grab me so they can send me to Sweden, and then Sweden can send me to the USA. But Ecuador has granted him asylum. So this is getting sticky because London came out and said, do you know the quote? Because I'm scrolling. It's taking me a long time over here.
Yeah, looking at this, I thought that Assange was being a little bit paranoid, but then the this is a BBC article, and the foreign minister of Ecuador said, and I quote, "Today we received from the United Kingdom an express threat in writing that they might storm our embassy in London if we don't hand over Julian Assange." That's a violation of the Vienna Convention, Article 9, and I think Article 22, Item 1. I mean, that's an international incident, if nothing else, and that's just absolutely...
Right.
I don't even know why the UK would be so interested in him. So maybe there is something to this whole they're out to get me thing.
Yeah, well, of course they're out to get him. They want to get him back to Sweden on the sex charges, which are kind of ridiculous anyway. And then they're going to send him over to the USA, and you know what's going to happen then. The USA is going to try him and try to put him to death.
Yeah, Sweden got caught up in this whole like CIA rendition to Egypt thing, and so like the CIA was apparently sending people to Sweden and then from there to Egypt to be tortured or something that's, you know, political suicide like that. And so the politicians in Sweden were like, oh no, we don't want that.
Any minute now, there's going to be the jackboot guys knocking on our door.
Yeah, I don't really, you know, the allegations themselves on the surface are very serious, but the detail, like in Sweden, but the more details I learn about that, the more fishy it seems. And, you know, the UK would be so interested in this as to threaten to storm the embassy. Something doesn't add up here.
Well, I remember there was also an information bomb that you could download from WikiLeaks, and that came out a couple years ago, I think 2009 or so.
Oh, yeah, there was like a 17 gig archive.
Yeah, a very large archive. And I have no idea if we have a copy of that or not here, but if anything happens to Assange, there's supposed to be an encrypted key that will be released so that you can open it, and it's supposed to be some really, really, really damning evidence inside that file. I have no idea what it is, and I have no idea if we have a copy of that or not. So, eBay has banned the sale of spells, potions, and hexes. That's just damn disappointing. I was making so much money on eBay selling, like a pox or a plague. I had an eBay account, and I was just like all day long, magic and prayers. I sold this lady in Florida. She really wanted her dog to become her husband, so I sold her a spell to turn a dog into a human being so she could legally marry him.
That's neat.
Yeah, they're not allowed anymore.
Fortunately, my side business of selling perpetual motion machines on eBay will remain unaffected.
Yeah, it's not going to be affected at all by this because that's legitimate. So that's kind of funny. They're trying to protect their users from being lied to. You know what? Do they wipe their ass too? I mean, if people are stupid enough to go online and buy a hex or buy a spell, just let them do it. They obviously don't need their money. We're going to talk about Apple right now. I'm very sorry. This will be a minute. It's going to be my Rant 30 segment, and it's going to be kind of fun. So, of course, they're in the massive trial with Samsung, and they're just bickering and arguing like two school kids outside trying to fight over whose toy belongs to who. That's really what it sounds like to me. Anyway, Judge Koh, who is presiding over the case, snapped at Apple today. It sort of shows you how impatient she's getting with the whole thing. Apple had 4 hours where they could, interview a few more witnesses, and they had like 20 witnesses and a 75-page document that they gave to the judge for her to look over. So she gets the thing and she says, I mean, come on, 75 pages? 75 pages? You want me to do an order on 75 pages, and unless you're smoking crack, you know these witnesses aren't going to be called when you have less than 4 hours. So she snapped at him a little bit. People are saying, oh, that was very unprofessional. But the entire blogosphere, not the entire, like, the blogosphere that's not like drinking the Apple Kool-Aid, have all like come out and you're seeing all day long tweets and stuff like that saying, get him, Ko, way to go, you tell him. So it seems like people have her back. Have you seen the time?
Rant 30?
It's about Rant 30. So Samsung, in their defense, has been stating that everything that Apple says that they own has previously been invented or created by someone else. Who did a video about that just recently?
I think we did.
I think it might have been us too. I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to go check that video that has almost 200,000 hits right now, but it might have been us.
Yeah, we might have called that one.
Yeah. Anyway, so they're showing, in court all the different things, and they're calling it prior art. Look who else did all this stuff. I'm just going to show one real quick because this is interesting. Multi-touch. Well, several years ago, here's a video from before Apple had multi-touch.
I can grab a section and zoom in a classic multi-touch zoom gesture.
He said a classic multi-touch zoom gesture. That predates any multi-touch from Apple. And then let's look back to the 60s. In the 60s, there was a German company that was creating some very interesting stuff. 60s and 70s, that is. Let's just take a look at this here. Oh my goodness.
This is product design. This speaks to product design, the aesthetics of the product design.
And that's really where Apple says that all their patents lie. I mean, in the aesthetics of the software and the products.
We own the wedge-shaped aluminum look. It's ours.
Right.
But then you get this, and it's like, well...
We own icons on the desktop with rounded corners. We own that. They own that. They think. So, look at what Braun's been doing. Oh, my God.
Yeah, these are products from the 60s. These are industrial products, minimalist design. And, Apple engineers, Steve Jobs, admits that a lot of these things were their inspiration for their products. I mean, look, the handheld radio versus the iPod, circular wheel interface. The grill there's the speaker because it was a handheld radio.
Mm-hmm.
The perforated aluminum, in the Mac Pros, it's something that Braun pioneered.
Steve Jobs was so excited about this stuff that he hired a German to do all of his design work.
Yeah.
So everyone thinks that Steve Jobs didn't design any of this stuff. He just had a vision for what he wanted, and then he went and got it.
This is what I want. Now we need to take the palette of available technologies and mix it in a recipe to come up with what my vision is. That's basically what they did.
Let's hear from Steve.
It comes down to trying to expose yourself to the best things that humans have done, and then try to bring those things in to what you're doing. I mean, Picasso had a saying. He said, good artists copy, great artists steal. And we have, always been shameless about stealing great ideas.
I rest my case. The absolute fever that people catch over Apple products is ridiculous. In a poll recently, 1 out of every 11 men said that they were willing to give up sex for a month if they could get an iPod or an iPhone 5.
I'm not sure I would agree to that, even if it were a laptop from 10 years in the future.
All right. Let me just move along here.
And I would be allowed to invent the technologies that were present in a laptop from the future. I mean, that's iffy. Maybe.
This has been mostly science and policy today. Let's get back into science, shall we? So DNA may be the ultimate hard drive. If you're storing data on DNA, let me tell you about the capacity. In 1 picogram, which is 1 trillionth of a gram, scientists have been able to store an entire genetics textbook. The entire textbook, pictures, text, and all, in 1 picogram of DNA. That is absurd. If you had a regular, mechanical hard drive, it would be petabytes and petabytes and hundreds, well, more than hundreds. It'd be like trillions of petabytes, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it's just it's a hard to imagine amount of data. Reading it and writing it at this stage is not the fastest thing in the world. It's a proof of concept, but this has tremendous ramifications for genetic manipulation as well. What they're doing is not actually storing data inside a living cell. They're just dealing directly with DNA.
They are writing to DNA.
Which is convenient. It means you don't have a living organism. You don't have to have a living organism to host the data.
Right. They can live it. I mean, they can write it. They can store it. They can have it replicate itself, which is also interesting. That's really cool on a lot of different levels. They've got a lot of work to do before this is going to be usable on a consumer level. But years and years and years of work. But
yeah, you'd have to have millions of dollars of equipment to deal with it. But interestingly, they did incorporate inkjet into part of how they do this. Inkjet
they're
technology.
using it to print to the DNA.
Yeah, inkjet. The reason for that is inkjet print nozzles have gotten so small in the effort to make everything super high resolution that they're really convenient machines for moving around very small quantities of stuff.
Right.
So inkjet technology is really awesome.
You can use them to print anything. And you know who does use them to print anything?
Google.
Google does. Of course Google does. Google prints food. They print noodles and stuff like that. This is a video of a chef. I'm not going to play it, but you guys can. I'll send you a link to the video here. I'm just looking at it on Hard OCP. They seem to post a lot of cool things over there. But anyway, yeah, the dude says Google must be a really cool place to work at because like 80% of the food is organic or locally grown, which is amazing. And whenever he needs something that he wants consistent or he wants it to be in a certain shape, he can print the food. So he prints like shells and dough or takes the dough and prints like noodles and stuff like that. But yeah, they've got everything at Google.
And a 3D food printer, which is nuts.
Yeah. So scientists have discovered, well, I guess I already knew about the bacteria-eating virus that could produce electricity, but now they've discovered a way for this bacteria-eating virus to power batteries. They one day could power your cell phone. They're very efficient, and they're non-toxic. So you guys can throw them away in your regular trash can. That's pretty cool. No more, because right now, what do people do with batteries? 9 times out of 10, they throw them right into the regular trash.
Landfill.
Yep, landfill. That's where they end up. So I'm not going to go too deep into this. The virus turns mechanical energy into electrical energy, and that's where you get your electricity. And they need movement in order to do that, so they compress the things and It makes electricity. I've really glossed over a lot of details there, but you guys can look it up.
Go read the article.
Yeah, read the article if you're interested in that sort of thing. Did you see this baby? She's like, the baby is like, what the hell are you laughing at? Mother, I'm going to come over there and slap the... Ooh, that is one pissed child.
The unique thing about this is it's a funny picture on the internet that doesn't involve cats.
Yeah, I was really excited when I saw this. I was like, oh my God, where's the cat? And then I ended up sad, like I lost half of my day's productivity because I was like, I shouldn't be happy about this. There's no cat. The NVIDIA GTX 660 Ti is out. Is it worth picking up? Yeah. Should be. Is it better than the Radeon 7950 or the Radeon 7870? I don't know. I posted a bunch of benchmarks using Crysis 2, Battlefield 3, Metro 2033. What else did I... Dirt, Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I posted a bunch of benchmarks from all three of these cards on Tech Syndicate. So if you're shopping around for a card that's around $300, you might want to check that out. I'll give you the basics right now. The 660 Ti is a little bit slower than the 7870 in like 6 out of 10 games. A little bit slower. So overall, it's a little slower, but there are a few games where it is actually faster. The 7950 beats it in almost every game. Now, generally speaking, the 7950 is a more expensive card. You'll find it online. It's generally $50 more. However, if you're talking about the overclock 660s, those are like $20, $30 more, so there's not that much of a difference, and then you may want to start looking hard at the 7950. Also, the 7950 keeps dropping in price, and I've found some specials on websites that I'm not sure if they're reputable or not, but I found some specials that were around $315, $312. If you guys find a 7950 at that price, grab it immediately. And then think about the 7870 as well. That one's a little cheaper than the 660 Ti. The reason to get an NVIDIA GeForce 660 Ti, or maybe you like NVIDIA, maybe you're just a fanboy, go ahead and buy it. If you need CUDA, rendering for your different programs, like the Adobe Creative Suite loves CUDA. Other programs take advantage of CUDA, and they also take advantage of whatever the technology is that's on the Radeon. What is it? OpenCL? Yeah. So programs like Blender and stuff, they work with OpenCL just fine. But if you're using Adobe Creative Suite, the GTX 660 is a good way to go. The NVIDIA cards are better at MSAA, while the AMD cards are better at AA, anti-aliasing. So, I don't know, a lot to think about there. Check out the article there. Why don't you?
And rumor has it we're getting new ATI products soon.
Yes.
So
we call them ATI. We still call them ATI.
AMD.
Yeah. AMD called me up and said, hey, we've got this new awesome graphics card. We're going to send it to you like on day one. So we're going to have their next-gen technology very soon in my hands. Let's talk about gaming. New segment called You Should Play This. And this week, you should play Resonance. Resonance is sort of a retro-styled click adventure game, much in the style of the old LucasArts games, but it's not exactly funny. The plot is more serious. There's a lot of science involved, and you play as 4 different characters, and you switch back and forth to advance the story, and it brings them all together, and some of them are not exactly reliable narrators, so that gets kind of interesting. And it's got some interesting new, play styles or play mechanics. Game mechanics is what I'm looking for here. Anyway, Little Viking wrote a review about that, so check that out if you're into click adventure games. It also has retro 8-bit style graphics, but the visuals are really, really awesome. And she gave it a 9 out of 10 for graphics. So it's different. If you like those kind of games, check it out. Also in gaming news. So of course they're coming out with a full version of DayZ. That's been announced. They're going to be using the Arma 3 engine, and Dean Rocket Hall, has an interview coming out tomorrow, or actually it'd be today since you guys are watching this the day after we shoot it, with MCV. I guess that's a publication. I don't even know. It's an industry publication. It's download and you can pay for it. But anyway, in that he said that he was approached by many different publishers and he turned them all down. All these publishers he turned down. And the thing about it was, here's what he asked them all. He said, what value is actually being added to the process by publishers when you can distribute for free? So he would just flat out ask them, okay, so you're a publisher, you show up, what benefit can you possibly give us? That's what he asked them all, and none of them had good answers. You can distribute a game for free on the internet, and there's so much buzz with this game. Does he need a multi-million-dollar marketing budget? I don't think so. I mean,
doesn't seem like it.
No, not really, because, and also the audience that his game reaches. The DayZ doesn't reach the same audience as Call of Duty. Call of Duty are still people who watch TV. You see these ridiculous commercials and whatnot. If he put a DayZ commercial on television, that probably wouldn't be his audience. His audience is on the internet. His audience is, reading and sharing, and we're all discovering together. This game is more of a community game. That's what I think, anyway. I don't know.
No, I'd agree with that. DayZ definitely has a unique vibe to it, and the audience is unique.
Yeah. And, the audience is large. The audience is huge.
It is really huge. And the current implementation has a lot of very, very annoying bugs. But it still has an amazing sticking power with the audience. So
right.
They've definitely got the formula right.
Yeah, if the audience is this big and they're willing to live through these bugs, imagine how nice and big it's going to be when they release the full version game on the Arma 3 engine, bug-free, and completely, I guess it's going to be, instead of, this is a lot of hackneyed code. Just hacked together, slopped together.
Yeah, they hacked in melee weapons. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's pretty scary.
Yeah, when you swing a melee weapon, there's a puff of smoke as if it was firing. Yeah, that's kind of hacked together. I want to thank everyone who's been donating. We've got a chip in on the website, and you guys are awesome for donating. Also, the other half is going to go to purchasing awesome products to do reviews on, and then I'm going to give those products back to the community. So check out our chip in. You guys are helping a lot. That's really going to help us grow, and the more we grow, the more I can do this. Maybe I'll be able to hire somebody soon. That would be amazing.
We got to figure out what our first purchase is going to be.
Yeah, also, let me know what you guys want, because I want to get the hottest and newest hardware, like a new graphics card, new CPU. Let me know what's coming out in like the next month or so that you really, really want to see a review on, and we'll purchase that, and then we'll give it to you guys after we do the review. That's how it's going to work.
Yeah, we may wait till it's, 1,500 or 2,000 or something like that, too. So just, let us know.
Yeah, maybe I'll get a whole, a micro ATX gaming rig or something, and I'll give that away.
Yeah, and some of it may be stuff that we buy for around here and stuff like that, so...
Yeah, if we need to make an improvement here. But you guys are really helping the site. That's what's happening.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah. And again, I'm not going to go out and eat steak dinners. So I'll see you guys next week. No, you can't buy that. That's dumb.
First they come for the hexes and spells, then they come for the farts in a jar.
You know what? If they say that my plagues are not real, I will prove them wrong. You want to see 100,000 flies and some locusts? We've got locusts down here. Big locust. Never mind. Big Bill's locust house. Wouldn't it be something with L? It'd be something with L, like Larry's lazy locusts and leaves. I don't know. People buy anything if there's alliteration, because they're all illiterate. Oh.
Illiterate?
Illiterate, yeah. If they fall for alliteration, they must be illiterate.
Okay, this part needs to be cut.
I don't know. I might leave it in.
Moving right along.
Yes, indeed.